Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from the Daily Wire dated October 23rd. And it's entitled, Every 21st Century Democratic Presidential Nominee Supports Restricting Free Speech. And when I saw this article, I kind of went, or that headline I should say, I kind of went, really? And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, I mean, it's basically, who do we have here? Al Gore, then John Kerry, then of course Obama, then Hillary and Joe Biden. So there you go. So there's no less than 7 of the most recent 10 presidential nominees have called for censorship, the Media Research Center found. And, well, here's some of them. Oh, yeah, and then Kamala, obviously, to add to that. But it says, since 2020, every candidate the Democratic Party has nominated for president since 2000, I was about to say 20-0, I'm an idiot, has actively backed restrictions on free speech online, according to a new analysis from the Media Research Center shared with the Daily Wire. So since the 2020 election cycle, no less than 7 of the most recent 10 presidential nominees have called for censorship and or government regulation of political speech, MRC researcher Louis Cornelio wrote in his analysis, okay, you guys editing there, wrote in his analysis, or found in his analysis, or something like that. Anyway, MRC Free Speech for America, not cutting that out, analyzed the comments and positions of every presidential candidate since 2000. The group found that every Democrat, and just one Republican, who ran for office in that time frame has backed some kind of restriction on speech since 2020, whether banning misinformation or pushing for the government to crack down on free expression. Who was the Republican that did that? I wonder if the article is going to say, but I am curious. So that includes former President Barack Obama, President Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris, the last of whom has advocated censorship for years. Harris has pushed for social media companies to remove posts from former President Donald Trump and demanded more government oversight and regulation for social media companies. She said they are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation, and that has to stop, Harris told CNN in 2019. Nope, not going to. There's a thing called free speech. They're allowed to. So the report found that former President Donald Trump had taken steps to promote free speech, citing his efforts in 2020 to define Section 230, a provision that largely gives tech companies immunity for what third parties allow on their platforms, in a way that protected the First Amendment. Mitt Romney, who ran for president in 2012, is the only Republican the MRC found to have voiced support for censorship and against the American principles of free speech online. Well, that answers the question I had before, and why am I not surprised about that? And I'm sorry I voted for the man. Does the Biden-Harris administration use several federal agencies to censor speech related to the COVID-19 vaccine, MRC previously documented. This came as Biden claimed that Facebook was killing people by allowing posts critical of the COVID vaccine, something that they all happen to be right about. It says they're killing people. I mean, they're really, look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated, Biden said on July 6, 2021, and they're killing people. And again, that turned out to be wrong. Hillary Clinton, who has long blamed her 2016 loss to Trump on so-called Russian disinformation that she herself started, by the way, has proposed arresting Americans for spreading propaganda, such as, Hillary, the Russia collusion hoax. Like, you might want to take a look in a mirror, lady. She said, I think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda, and whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrence, Clinton said on MSNBC last month. She's saying that on MSNBC. That's rich. That's all MSNBC does is propaganda. So, yeah, that's called like irony on top of irony. Earlier this month, Clinton urged for social media companies to moderate posts, saying on CNN that if they don't moderate and monitor content, we lose total control. And there's the game for you. That they want control, and they're not getting it. Well, too effing bad. She continued on to say here that we should be, in my view, appealing something called Section 230, which gave platforms on the internet immunity because they were thought to be pass-throughs, that they shouldn't be judged for the content that is posted. But we now know that was an overly simple view, she said. Obama said back on April 21st, 2022, that protecting democracy meant more government regulations for online speech. Nope, that's called we just want control. One more time. Does each of us, whether we work at a tech company or consume social media, whether we are a parent, a legislator, an advertiser on one of those platforms, now is the time to pick a side, Obama said at Stanford's Cyber Policy Center. We have a choice right now. Do we allow our democracy to wither or do we make it better? Well, that would make it wither for sure. Says last month, John Kerry, who lost the White House to George W. Bush in 2004, asserted that the First Amendment was a major impediment to fighting alleged online misinformation. No, it's actually the thing keeping it there because it's like, dude, when COVID hit, the thing that made people see what was really going on was after Elon bought X. And we know before X that the government was telling Twitter what to say. And there's a word for the government colluding with private corporations for a common goal. I would suggest going and looking up what that means. It's a word that the left loves to use and use incorrectly. Yeah, so, like, dude, I don't know. I hear these people talking. I'm like, these are the people that are supposedly like our thought leaders. Anyway, let's keep going through what John Kerry said. Here says, but look, if people only go to one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, such as, the government, I added that. It says, our First Amendment stands as a major block to be able to just, hammer it out of existence, he said during a World Economic Forum meeting. So he met with all the commies, and that's where he said it. No wonder. So Vice President Al Gore, who has made a fortune pushing fear about climate change, and I'm saying hello to the wiki note right now, compared social media algorithms to AR-15 rifles in December 2023 and called for them to be banned if they lead people in a certain direction. Okay, it says if you have social media that is dominated by algorithms that pull people down these rabbit holes that are a bit like pitcher plants, these algorithms, they are the equivalent of digital equivalent of AR-15s, Gore said. They ought to be banned. They really ought to be banned. It's an abuse of the public forum. No, it isn't. And again, what I say about Al Gore is, sir, do you have any idea what you're talking about? Because the thing that you like to stand for, still waiting for all that stuff to happen there, pal. Anyway, it says Romney, the only Republican on the list, was included because of comments he made during a congressional hearing in July 2023, where he seemed to endorse federal government employees pressuring tech companies to restrict certain posts. Well, that was already going on, sir. And he said here, employees of the federal government have First Amendment rights too. Censorship is when the government shuts something off. This is arguing to try to convince somebody else to shut it off, and that's the right people have, whether they're in government or outside of government. God, again, disappointed in that man. But anyway, yeah, I just think it's really interesting that Democrats have just kind of become, they are anti-free speech. I mean, it's just something their party supports at this point. So think about that when you're going to vote. I don't know if this video is going to post before that, the election day, or after, because I'm recording this about a week and a half from election day. I think it's only about 9 days away when I'm recording this, if I'm just thinking right off the top of my head. So, but again, if this comes up before you vote, keep this in mind when you go to the polls if you happen to hear this. If it doesn't, then, oh well, at least you know going forward. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.